Alright, hello. Today we're going to be doing pullet judging. So you guys are going to be showing a pen of 6 pullets, and we're here to try and give you some tips on how you should select them. So there's a few main criteria that'll determine a good pullet. That's depth of body, width along the back, length of the back, and overall body size, along with color and uniformity of your pen of 6. So first off, we're going to go with depth. So what you're looking at is literally how wide the body is from the keel bone to the back. Easy way to measure that is with your hands. All you have to do is hook your thumb right around the keel bone and see where your fingers cross. And that's how you get your depth. This bird is that deep. Whereas the other bird, okay, come on. Over here.
Do you want me to take the other bird?
Is a little less deep. As you can see, I can fit the whole second part of my middle finger around the back of this bird. Whereas in the older bird we have here, I can only get my fingernail in the middle of the back. So that's how I can tell, just using my hand, that this bird is wider than the other one. Now what that means for you is you're going to have 6 pullets, and you want to get them as uniform as possible. We're not picking the best birds and the worst birds necessarily. We're picking these 6 birds that are as similar to each other as possible. So the next thing after width, or after depth, is width along the back. And you just take your hand and pinch together right at the shoulder of the bird, and also at the hip joints. So you take your 2 measurements, first across the wings, and then just slide your hands to the back where the hips are. A good bird pretty much maintains the same width throughout. There's no tapering. Your hand starts at one width and ends at the same width. A poor bird would start at one width and end at a much shorter width. At the same time you're doing that, you're also by default measuring how long your back is. So your back should be about 1.5 times longer than your width across the shoulders. So our width across the shoulders is this, and the back is about 1.5 times that. From the neck to the pygostyle, or the base of the tail, you want that to be about 1.5 times the width across the shoulders. So in this bird, you start out at a pretty decent width, and it carries back pretty well from the wings to the hip joints. Now for the other bird we have, also has a pretty good width across the shoulders, but as you can see from my hand, it really tapers going back to the hip joints. So it starts good and then slowly loses some of that width. And as pullets, you're going to see that a decent amount of time, but once again, your ideal birds are going to be the same. They're all going to start out wide, and they're going to taper as little as possible. So lastly, we have the length of the keel bone, and you literally just put your finger at the start of the keel bone, put your finger at the end of the keel bone, and that's how long your keel bone is. So you put your finger at the start of the keel bone and at the back of the keel bone, and that's... So these birds both have about, the same keel. And once again, it's consistency. So if all your birds have long keels, that's great. If all your birds have short keels, as much as it's not a great thing to have shorter keels, it's better that they're all consistent in the same categories. So the last thing that goes with consistency is color and sexual characteristics. You want them all to be the same age, which is pretty easy in this case because they should all be raised together. They're all hatched out together. But color is still going to be a concern. As you see, this bird, it's older, it's one of our older hens, and it's a lot lighter than this bird. So you wouldn't necessarily want to put these two together in the same pen for a few reasons. One, they're not really similar. This bird's definitely deeper than our younger one, definitely wider across the shoulders, and even though they're about the same length at the keel bone, they're too different for them to be considered compatible. Also, this one's lighter, and in a pen of darker birds, it'll stand out and it's gonna hurt you in your overall consistency. So pretty much what you wanna do is you wanna get 6 birds that are as close to identical as you can. That is, you want wide birds or deep birds, as far as the width goes, from the back to the keel. You want long-keeled birds, and you want birds that are wide across the shoulders and hold that width through the back. So they're going to start wide and end wide at the hips. And lastly, you want a back that's long. That kind of goes hand in hand with the keel bone. You want a back that's about 1.5 times longer than your width across the shoulders. So pretty much the best way to do it is make a chart, map out where all your birds fall, which ones have longer keels, which ones are wider, and pick the 6 that are closest in your main categories. And then if you have any that don't really fit, or you have some really close pairs, you can use color to determine it, just so they all look the same as well as feel the same. And even though, pretty much for consistency's sake, you might want to throw out some of your biggest birds and throw out your smallest birds. When in doubt, pick a bigger bird. But overall, you're looking for consistency. If you have 2 great birds and 4 mediocre birds, you're not going to do as well as a pen with 6 maybe above average birds, even though some of your birds were better. Overall, it's how your pen is on a whole. You want all 6 to be as close together as possible.